I'm Parbin Ashraf, a working mum, passionate about the North Indian cuisine I grew up around and still love to cook. The food of India is so diverse, like the landscape and the climate that have shaped it. The cooler north is known for dairy, roti, naan and aromatic masalas. Across the deserts of majestic Rajasthan are dishes inspired by royal palace cuisine. Whilst on the southerly coast, fish and coconut are popular. It's this amazing mix of cultures, faiths, cooking traditions and people that have given rise to wonderful dishes eaten all over the world.
Original butter chicken.
In this series, I'll be persuading you to spice up your cooking with my top 20 easy Indian recipes, perfect for family and friends.
Best way to eat this is immediately.
Across India, from busy cities to the sunny coast, we'll be meeting grandmas and mums to find out their treasured recipes. We'll also catch up with chefs and food experts celebrating all that is both traditional and fashionable. And in the UK, I'm going on my own tour to meet chefs and restaurant owners who are cooking up dishes inspired by recipes from their own Indian roots. Plus, I'll be sharing my top tips for stocking up your store cupboard, ready to cook up an Indian feast.
Welcome to my Indian kitchen.
In this show, I'm in the kitchen conjuring up a classic sagaloo, serving it with homemade naan.
That's really good.
And in India, we're off to the west coast in the vibrant metropolis of Mumbai, seeing what makes the city tick with some great food stories. From some authentic Parsi cuisine in an ideal corner restaurant,
Basically explains Parsis on a plate, really.
to the modern take on classic Indian flavours at a vibrant, happening canteen.
Very modern, but still very much rooted in Indian culture.
And we look at some home cuisine at a popular dining experience, Bori Kitchen.
It was amazing.
And it's stock take time in the pantry as I run through my top 10.
Happy cooking.
Plus, I'm in the east of London discovering the delights of Gujarati food with a chef who's getting a little help from family recipes and good old mum.
That's mine. So where's yours?
But first, I'm in the kitchen making scrambled eggs spicy and serving them with my favourite cuppa, chai.
I love a good cup of tea. Not I'm addicted to tea, but I love it. Any kind of tea. But on a weekend, I have to make a chai latte. I love weekends because it gives me a chance to make a really good breakfast or a brunch for the family. And I'm making chai and spicy scrambled eggs. First thing I'm going to do is I've got 3 tea bags happily boiling in there and add some cardamom pods. I'm going to give them a good bash to release their flavours. Not too harsh, just a couple of times in the tea. And then some cinnamon. And it adds a warming kind of flavour to the tea. And then 3 cloves, they go in. With chai, there's so many different recipes. In fact, it varies from family to family, region to region. And every recipe is right. It's whatever you like. I like mine with cinnamon and cardamom. Once the water's boiled, I'm going to add some evaporated milk. Now, I grew up in the 70s with my mum giving us evaporated milk in tea and coffee. And it's not sweet, but it's just as divine in a chai. Give that a stir and look at that beautiful colour. Now, chai is a flavour, but chai is also a method. The method I'm using is reducing the water and the milk, adding the spices and cooking the tea. And some sugar. I'm going to turn the heat up. The way I was taught to make tea is it has to come to the boil. And then I'm going to turn it down. There's that 1 second between boiling and spilling over. And my mother would just, rather than turn the gas down, would blow on her tea. See, it sort of works. Blow on the tea, turn it down, and hopefully it won't spill over. That needs about 5 to 6 minutes, just enough time to make my spicy scrambled eggs. This is quite a simple, basic recipe, but one that really works. I'm going to dice some onions. My spices will be fresh green chilli, just 1, and then some dried fenugreek leaves. I think dried fenugreek leaves gives a real sort of depth of flavour, and that's what I'm looking for. You'd be surprised how these 3 spices can really spice up your eggs. That's the onion done, quite a strong onion, and I'm going to dice some tomato. Just roughly dice the tomatoes. You don't have to be too precise with this because they'll cook down. And then fresh green chilli. I'm using 1 green chilli and just roughly chop it. Sometimes I'll Cook with the chili and then take it out so nobody gets a big chunk in their mouth. That's the last of the chili chopped, and I can see my tea is done. And put it straight into the chai glasses. Straight into there. That's 2 glasses of chai. Perfect. You can smell, oh, it just smells divine. You can smell the cinnamon, you can smell the cardamom. That's done. While that cools, make my spicy eggs. In with the oil. In with the butter. Okay, so I'm being a little bit decadent, but you have to allow me, it's the weekend. In go the onions. And then I want to make them slightly golden brown and then add my tomatoes. I'm gonna add some green chili now. At the minute the chili hits the pan, you can smell it. And it's very fresh. It has a very different flavour and a very different taste to red chilies. They're frying off nicely and just smell amazing. And now to add dry spices. One of my favourites, this is dry fenugreek leaves, sometimes called methi. Now tomatoes. And that's going to give a little bit of moisture to the onions and cool it down a little bit as it's cooking. With this recipe, you have to eat it straight away. It's not the kind of thing you can cook and leave. You need to cook and eat. And in my house, it gets eaten. Just using 4 eggs for this recipe. 4 eggs in a bowl. And then I'm just going to add some pepper, tiny bit of salt, and a little bit of cream. It's the weekend. Give it a good whisk. I like to use really good quality organic eggs. I think it's worth it investing in some good eggs. Just tastes so much better. Just let it settle a little bit. Don't be too impatient. And just move it around gently. Turn the heat up. And that's it. That's all looking fabulous, and that just took, what, 30 seconds. Last ingredient, some fresh coriander. Not everybody likes fresh coriander, but I think it's an amazing herb and adds real freshness to this dish. A little bit of coriander. Time to grab my toast and dish up. I'm serving my spicy scrambled eggs with sourdough toast. I love sourdough toast because of the crunch. You've got the crunch of the toast and the fluffiness of the eggs. Perfect. Pile it high and go in for it. So good. The eggs are fluffy, you've got the freshness of the coriander coming through, tiny bit of chili, and that fenugreek just adds an enormous amount of flavour. I'm gonna have it with my chai. Now that's what I call a brunch. The spiciness of the eggs and the sweetness of the chai really works. This is the best brunch ever. This is all mine. It's time to search the bustling coastal city of Mumbai for fabulous foodie stories. In the heart of the metropolis is a happening place to eat, with the vibe of modern Indian food and a hint of the old times. Plus, in the kitchen, I'm cooking a classic that's good for a midweek meal, saag aloo with hot naan. It's fluffy on the inside, crispy on the outside. But first, in India, we're on the coast in the city of Mumbai. Mumbai, formerly known as Bombay, is the most populated metropolis in India. Over 20 million live in Greater Mumbai. The city's wealth and importance grew out of the port and manufacturing. Today, it's India's commercial and financial capital. Known to be a cosmopolitan city, a melting pot of cultures have left their mark on the food. One community, the Parsis, has a long-established cafe and restaurant culture in the city. Many were opened in the mid-19th century by Parsi settlers, Zoroastrians from Iran. The Parsis' history with India and its cuisine goes back a long way. To take a look at Parsi food, I've lined up Harsan Patel. She runs a food business, Bowie Bride, which cooks authentic Parsi delicacies.
Parsi food tends to be an amalgamation of different cultures. What Parsis call Parsi food today is actually, a little bit of British food, a little bit of Indian and Gujarati influences, a lot of Goan influences. So we've actually, because we've lived in India for over 1,000 years now, we've actually borrowed from a lot of cultures, and that's what today has become Parsi food.
Ideal Corner was formerly a motorcycle garage. They started serving Parsi snacks in 1985. Located in the old business district, They're known for serving up affordable Parsi cuisine to locals and visitors alike.
So I've ordered some breakfast food for me to have first, a curry. As you can see, it's really soft and like almost buttery because there's quite a lot of ghee inside and not oil. And we also don't push the egg, so you don't overcook the egg. Scoop it all up. I'm gonna eat one. This is lovely. I've not had a curry in a really long time. So what we got here is the keema gotala. So keema obviously means mince, and gotala is actually a Hindi word for a mistake or something that you've screwed up. So it's mutton mince with some spices, some tomato, and then egg which is broken through and cooked along with it.
The owner of the restaurant is Parvez Patel, who's been there since the beginning.
So how long has this restaurant been open?
We are 30 plus years. We shut the garage and we only started a snack bar where we used to outsource things and sell. Then we started making only one dish a day. Like we only made one particular dish a day. That was a huge success. So then we got into that and then we became a full-fledged restaurant.
So I ordered a few things that we would typically have for lunch. So we've got possibly the one dish that Parsis are most known for, which is dhansak. This is what is called kachubar, which is basically an onion salad. Dhansak is not complete if you've not had it with kachubar. Traditionally, this dish is had in almost 90% of Parsi households every Sunday for lunch. You've not eaten a Parsi meal until you've eaten dhansak. This over here is the chicken farcha. So, you know, the British have fish and chips, and the Parsis have farcha and chips. This here is what is called the patrani machi. It's been made with kingfish, and so this is a boneless fillet. It's been coated with this beautiful coconut, coriander, and mint chutney, which is sweet and sour at the same time. It really represents what Parsi food is about, you know, because it's got fish, which is from the Gujarat region, the banana leaves, which is from South India, the use of a coconut chutney, which is a very Gujarati thing. So it basically explains Parsis on a plate, really.
Just around the corner is Yazdani Bakery. They have been baking here since 1950. Typical of the popular Parsi and Irani-style cafe and restaurant culture, it makes a great place to visit on a foodie tour for a truly authentic eating experience.
So we're sitting in Yazdani Bakery and Restaurant. A lot of the Irani cafes now don't actually bake their own bread, but this is one of the few ones left which actually still bakes their own bread. Everyone comes in here for 2 or 3 standard things. This is what we call the brun pao maska, which is, it's just a very nice soft bread studded with some raisins and then slathered with lots and lots of butter. So the way you have it is you actually dunk the whole thing into your tea, and then that's how you eat it. So this is what is called the kari biscuit. And this is actually just layers and layers of puff pastry with butter, and it's then just twisted and then baked together. So today you will get these curry biscuits at any tea stall in Mumbai, but no one makes them as buttery as an Irani cafe does. So these are basically jeera batasa, basically means cumin batasa, and this is actually made from stale bread. And you actually dunk it into your tea and you let it float there for a bit. And we're going to pick it up. Lovely. This here, what we're having is the Irani tea. This tea is actually just brewed over a really long time, and it's really sweet and really milky. People just love this Irani chai. I think it's the shot of sugar that really people are craving rather than the caffeine in this aspect, but it's just, I think it's also a hit of nostalgia.
Quick and easy Indian home cooking is my goal. Whether I'm cooking for my family or throwing a dinner party, best way to start is to find and discover the delights of Indian specialist shops. To help me get great dishes to the table, I have a well-stocked pantry ready for action. So I've streamlined it down and given you a list of my top 10 favourites that I have in my pantry. In the heart of my pantry and centre stage is my trusted spice tin.
And an all-round spice mix like garam masala is something that just has to be in your tin.
It adds real depth of flavour.
To avoid a dal debacle, I always have red lentils to hand.
It's like a sponge and soaks up any flavour you give it.
And from the flour aisle, chapati flour is a must.
There's no chapati flour in the house, they'll be up raw.
And what do you keep your chapati flour in? A bin.
I have one in my pantry. This is a chapati bin to store your flour in.
For people with a sweet tooth, jaggery in all its forms should be part of your pantry.
It's just delicious and it has a real richness of flavour.
My favourite for a bit of zing, pomegranate seed powder or a nardana.
Adds a certain zestness and tartness that I love.
Just for dessert and something from the past I still like to have. Coconut chips.
My mum had them in her pantry and I have them in mine.
For Indian cooks in a hurry, pop by the freezer aisle for ready crushed ginger and garlic.
Ginger and garlic is something we use in Indian cooking quite a lot.
And finally, this frozen veg is a must-have in my freezer.
So, although my mantra is fresh is best, I'll make an exception for the pea. So those were my favourites. I hope you found them helpful. Happy cooking!
We're back in the city of Mumbai, home to around 13 million people, more like 20 million across the whole metropolitan area. It's big. It's a modern go-getting city, a melting pot of food and culture, and home to many communities. Some of the tastiest food in cities can be found in people's homes. I've lined up a look at some traditional Bori food with the Bori family. At Bori Kitchen, they've decided to let people experience Bori food in their home. Nafisa Kapadia, who started the dining experience with her son, explains.
It's basically a home dining experience where we invite about 15 to 30 people home every weekend and serve them typical Bori food, which is very authentic and which is not easily available outside.
The idea has proved very popular in the city with locals and visitors.
It was amazing. I'm pretty sure I'm going to come again.
To get an idea of some Bori dishes, Nafisa is putting together a festive meal. One dish for a dessert is shea kurma, typically served at festivals.
So we are making the sir kurma, which is basically a dish which we make for Ramzan Eid. We'll require 1 liter milk which has been boiled. Then the other ingredients are, I have almonds sliced over here, pistachios which has been sliced. Then this is dried dates. This is vermicelli which has been broken into small pieces. And this is raisins. This is charoli, and this is sugar. Okay. So I've just removed the ingredients and I've kept, and we'll be needing a little ghee to roast the sev. So I'm putting this for boil. A small teaspoon of pure ghee. It's a sweet dish which we prepare during Ramzan Eid. So we celebrate it by feasting on all these things. So sir kurma is one of the dishes. Bori cuisine is basically, it's a mixture of many cuisines. Like we migrated from Yemen. So those flavors then we've settled in Gujarat. So you will find the Gujarat, the vegetarian things also. So the Boris have been influenced by everything, you know, like from where they came and from where they are staying at the present. It's like a fusion of all the cultures, you know. I'll just be putting the vermicelli in it. I'm just roasting it a little so that it becomes a little slightly dark brown color. Okay, I'll add almonds and pistachios to this. It will give the milk a little flavor also and plus texture. This recipe, to mostly all Boris follow it. But now in each and every household that you go, you'll find a different form of sir kurma. We'll add the sugar to the milk. Now basically we just have to add everything into it and let it boil for some time. Now we'll add all these ingredients. This is charoli, dry dates, kharik, and raisins. All the flavors will get mixed with the milk, and yeah, it will taste very different now. I started with my mother, and then my mother-in-law also was a very good cook. So both of them have influenced me a lot. Plus, we Boris, we traditionally, I think we believe in feeding people. Yeah, it's almost done. And like when you'll drink this, you'll get all the flavors of the almonds, pistas. Okay, so we'll let this simmer for another 5-10 minutes, and then it'll be ready to serve.
To serve alongside the shea kurma, Nafisa prepares some more dishes for the meal.
These are the samosas, and they have been stuffed with mutton keema, spring onions, mint, coriander. And this is chicken shahi rolls. It is a chicken minced keema, which has been and inside stuffed with cheese. See, now the sirkurma is ready. I'll switch it off now. It's become a little thick, and then all the flavors have gone into the milk. So it's ready now.
To share the meal, a colleague and some friends have gathered.
What you guys are seeing right now in front of you is the bori thal, and boris technically eat from the thal. So this is your plate. There aren't any plates. These are a couple of condiments. Kachumbar raita, it goes very well with the main course. This is a bowl of amba halad. It's 2 types of turmeric. This one is the dry fruit and khajur chutney. This is the mint chutney. It's coriander, coconut, mint, and a little bit of green chilies.
The sirkurma that we prepared today, these are our famous smoked keema, mutton keema samosas. These are the chicken shahi rolls, which we fried in the kitchen today. This is a malai khaja. It's basically a puff pastry which has been stuffed with malai, fresh cream. Now, this is one of the baked dishes in our Bori community. It's a dabba gosh. So it's pieces of chicken with lots of vegetables. This is our famous kajuran, a leg of a lamb slowly cooked in a kaju gravy. This is done only during festivals or something or occasions.
So that's by and large what the thal consists of. And this people sit very nicely for an hour and go through the entire meal and then go to sleep because you're eating so much.
I'm Paveen Ashraf, and I'm passionate about cooking easy Indian food for family and friends.
This is the best brunch ever.
Coming up in my Indian kitchen, the thriving city of Mumbai is our destination. And a place to eat that's all about food with Indian roots, served with good times in mind. Also in East London, I'm discovering why Gujarati food is proving popular with diners.
It's really nice.
Before all that, I'm in the kitchen getting spinach and potatoes together for my tasty classic saag aloo.
Many people think of saag aloo as a side dish. I always serve mine as a main dish, and I'm serving it with some homemade naans. In my bowl, I've got 250 grams of plain flour, a teaspoon of salt, some sugar, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And I'm going to add some oil. The oil just makes the naans nice and fluffy, and that's what I want, fluffy naans. 150 ml of milk, and just get your hands in and bind the dough really well. That's my dough nearly ready. Just flour the surface, clean surface, and I'm going to knead the dough now for about 1 minute to 2 minutes. That's all it really needs. We can see that's come together beautifully. Now that's going to rise, but not a lot. I'm just going to use some oil, the bottom of the tub, so the dough doesn't stick. In it goes, lid on, and that'll rest for a little while I get on with my saag aloo. Just 1 onion straight into the pan. Just going to soften them slightly in the oil, and turn that down slightly while they simmer, and get on with cutting my chilies. I'm using 2 fresh green chilies. I'm going to roughly chop these and put them straight into the onions. And immediately, you can smell the green chilies frying and they're releasing the flavours. 6 cloves of garlic. Now turn the heat to low. Garlic, especially when it's crushed, can burn really easily. Now for tomatoes. Just going to add 2 tomatoes straight into the pan. And what tomatoes does is just give it a little base. Turn the heat up and cook your tomatoes. With the amount of heat I've got in the pan and that little bit of water I added, that's going to help the tomatoes break down. I'm only using 1 dry spice from my little spice box. Dry fenugreek. 4 teaspoons of dry fenugreek, or methi, is an amazing little ingredient. As soon as it hits the pan and it hydrates again with all that liquid, it sort of comes to life. Just a teaspoon of salt, and then straight in with my potatoes. 2 medium-sized potatoes. I haven't pre-boiled these, and I haven't blanched them. So the aim of the game now is to coat those potatoes in that lovely garlicky tomatoey sauce. And I am cooking on quite a high heat. And if you find that it sticks, just add a splash of water, and that loosens the bottom, deglazes the pan. As soon as it warms through, spinach goes straight in. Just let it wilt, handful at a time, give it a little stir. Even though I'm using baby spinach, I've chopped it because I want it to cook really quickly. And the finished dish, I don't want to have big leaves of spinach. Look at that, all the water coming out from the spinach. The potatoes, they look a bit boiled now, and that's exactly what they're going to do, start to boil in that spinachy kind of sauce. So now I want to turn the heat to high. I'm going to cook that water out. Spinach has wilted down nicely. Time to add the rest of my greens, herbs and leaves. The next green leaf I'm adding is fresh fenugreek leaf. Quite a strong flavour. I think quite a musky flavour, but it seems to come alive when it's paired up with the sagaloo. Altogether, I'm going to use about 2 handfuls. Now I'm going to add some dill. Dill's not really known to go with Indian cooking, but I always use it in my dish for sagaloo. I'm not using the stalks. They can go. In goes the dill, and that cooks down really quickly. The last herb is coriander. I love coriander, and I'm going to use stalks and leaves straight into the pan, and that's going to flavour our spinach even more. This is a surprisingly flavoursome dish, considering it started life with a bit of spinach and a couple of spuds. Just want to check the potatoes, slice it in half, and I know actually that has a little bit of give. The potatoes will continue to cook in the residual heat while I get on with my homemade naan. My naan dough's rested for about 30 minutes now. That just feels beautiful. It's silky smooth. That dough will make about 4 naan. That will give you a perfect little round dough ball. Into the flour, just flatten it. Using your fingers, press down quite firmly. It's quite a springy dough, look, it springs up. And that's what we're going for. I like to make this perfect little disc, and that's easier to roll out. I'm going to add some nigella seeds. They add a slight crunch, flavour, and also a little bit of colour. Into a really hot pan. I did no oil, no butter. It's just the heat that's going to cook that dough. And I can tell it's cooking because I can see it's slightly fluffing up. There you are, you've got that beautiful brown specks. And that's the bottom of the naan cooked. Now into a hot grill. It needs about 30 to 40 seconds, but I have been known to burn them, so I have to really keep an eye on them. That's done in no time at all. Just using melted butter on top of my naan. Sometimes I crush some garlic in, have a garlic buttered naan. My saag's ready. Just break a piece off, and that's lovely. It's fluffy on the inside and crispy on the outside. Exactly what you want from a naan. In my sagaloo. You've got buttery, fluffy naan. You've got delicious sagaloo. You can taste the dill. That's a perfect midweek supper. That's really good.
We're back in India. The great thing about a busy, bustling modern city like Mumbai is that it offers a vibrant food culture and lots to try. To get a taste of what's on offer when dining out in the thriving metropolis, I've lined up a look at the Bombay Canteen. They call it a place to toast the old times and celebrate the new. Opened in 2015, part of the team are co-founders Yash Banerjee and executive chef Thomas Zacharias. So what was the inspiration?
So it was 4 of us who opened this restaurant, and all of us had been working in different parts of the world, and had come back to India. We saw that Indian food had not evolved over the years, nor had the Indian dining experience changed. So we said, why not look at India, celebrate India in what it is today.
In the style we present, and it's very modern, but still very much rooted in Indian culture.
And the interior is all part of the dining experience.
taken inspiration from an old Indian bungalow. From 2 feet below are the remnants of that bungalow itself.
A couple of typical dishes from the menu are a classic. Fried egg with cheese, toast and a chili chutney, and a crispy soft-shell crab dish also served with a chutney.
This is a crispy soft-shell crab with an Andhra chili pachadi. So we start with just some vegetable oil. We're going to put in black mustard seeds, fenugreek seeds, hing powder. Hing is asafoetida, garlic cloves. These local chilies that are called Bhavnagari chilies. They're not very spicy, but they have a lot of flavor. Spicy green chilies as well. The local cilantro, spring onions, and fresh basil. There's mustard seeds, the black mustard seeds, which will start spluttering. And you can smell that aroma. It's really, really delicious. The menu here is inspired by, partly by my travels, and partly with kind of food we all grew up eating in India. Add this herbs and a little bit of water. And then that's it. You turn it off. This is fresh cilantro. A little sugar to balance everything out. And of course, the sour tamarind. Tamarind is a souring agent used in South India a lot. Add them to our blender here. That's essentially a chutney. So it's spicy, it's got a balance of the herbs as well. Yeah, so right now what I'm doing is mixing in a little bit of the tamarind and just hiding it under the wings of the soft-shell crab. I studied in New York. What I saw in New York and through my experience was food is exciting. That sense of excitement and wonder is what I kind of brought back to our menu here. Just going to season this with crushed chilies.
To make the crab crispy, they are fried in a cornflour batter.
And off it goes. Most Indians haven't had soft-shell crab before. So what we're trying to do in a way is kind of show them something that's very much Indian, but something that is completely new to them. Look at how beautiful that is. So this is raw soft-shell crab, which we fried whole. The Andhra pachadi chutney, spoon some in the bottom. This goes on top. A little bit of fresh grated coconut. Generous squeeze of lime again on top. And a final flourish, we're going to fry off some curry leaves. Spoon that on top. And there you have it, the crispy soft-shell crab with an Andhra chili pachadi, grated coconut and fried curry leaves. Essentially, the menu is inspired by all parts of India. Because India is a vast country and we want to kind of showcase and celebrate various aspects of it. So now we're going to make the most popular dish on our menu. It's what we call the eggs kejriwal. It's a take on a very classic dish that is eaten in the clubs of Bombay. And these are membership clubs from the old British Raj. So first we'll make the chutney. We have these chilies. And this chutney is actually a recipe that I grew up eating. My grandmom used to make it. So we have the chilies, we have the onions, a little bit of lime juice, a little sugar to balance that sourness, a little bit of the spicy chilies. So we're going to blend this chutney. So it's a really simple and delicious chutney. It reminds me of my grandmom, who would have been really proud to see what I'm doing here if she was still around. The other really important component of this dish is the bread. So we have this bread that's toasted, and it's crispy on the outside and it's kind of still moist and soft inside. The next step is to fry the egg. We're going to season this with a little bit of salt and pepper. Take that fried egg, grate some cheese on top. We're going to top it with some chopped green chilies, and this goes in the oven. We started to really identify with our own culture and kind of be proud of it. And this restaurant kind of is an example of that in its truest form. There you have it. The egg is still runny, and there's the green chili and coconut chutney that we made. Just a little bit in the center. Goes on top. A little bit of cilantro microgreens on top. And there you have it. This is the Bombay Canteen's version of the eggs kejriwal.
They also look to popular global tastes for presentation.
These are chicken tacos with Lucknowi chicken, and it's on a base of teplas, which comes from another state called Gujarat. It's got a little bit of chutney on top, this fermented tomato salad, and then you just pick it up and eat it like a taco.
The city of Mumbai is a bustling city, it's a modern city, so we wanted to give that approach to our food and also create an experience and an ambience that everyone wants to be here for.
foods is still a British favourite when eating out. It's a country with a vast culinary heritage, and each Indian region has contributed distinct recipes and flavours to the dishes we've come to love. My recipes are inspired from the North Punjab region, and as part of my journey, I'm interested to discover how the food of other regions differs and is finding its way onto restaurant tables.
The tradition of regional home cooking is becoming increasingly popular with British diners. There's a myriad of supper clubs, market stalls and restaurants dedicated and inspired by food cooked by our mothers and grandmothers. There's more to Indian cuisine than just curry.
At Gujarati Rasoi, the regional recipes of Gujarat are being brought to life by chef and owner Urvesh Pervez, with the ever-guiding hand of his mum protecting the precious family recipes. Gujarat is a region to the west of India, and it also sits on the coast. I've come to Dalston in East London to meet Urvesh and his mum to find out more about this region's cuisine.
The thali is all vegetarian. Now, Gujaratis are known for their range of vegetarian dishes. I can't wait to try because he's cooking food made from a place of love. Chef.
Hello.
Must be Urvesh.
Yeah, that's right. Hello.
I'm
How do you do?
Parbin.
Hey, pleasure to
I've
meet
been
you.
looking at your thali and I'm intrigued.
To get a
wonderful.
better taste of the region and his food, Urvesh has cooked some dishes to show me, including their popular thali. Mum is joining us too.
Tell me, Urvesh, this looks stunning. What do we have here?
So this is a typical Gujarati fare.
What is this?
So that's sweet potato, what we call sakaria, and that's made with a herb called fenugreek. So that's
Yeah.
a fenugreek leaf there. Because the Gujarati food often plays with spicy from chili, and there's a sweet element, a sour element, but also a bitter note, and often the methi provides that bitter note. The Gujarati food, the idea is that it's not overwhelmingly one note, for example, not just chili. You shouldn't be eating it and going, oh, well, I can feel its heat.
Every dal has got different tadka with different spices in there.
This one looks a bit unusual. So this is, which kind of dal is this then, Urvesh?
So this is a mung bean dal.
So what's this green vegetable in here?
So it's called a dudi, pale gourd.
I'm not sure that is. Lily, could you please shed some light on what that is?
Yes, it is in Punjabi called kaddu.
Kaddu. Yeah, no, I got that. That's definitely one that I'd like to learn.
Oh, I'm totally happy to show you. This version of the mung dal is probably my grandmother's, if not her grandmother's.
So what are you calling your recipe for this moong dal?
It's literally that, mugni dal.
Magni dal.
Here we have the dal here, and we need to rinse this about 3 times. So now this goes straight into the boiling water, and this is going to take about 20 minutes to half an hour. It's a really quick one to make. Some dals you have to soak overnight.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is great, especially my kids love it because they can just say, Dad, can you make me dal?
Make
and
me
they
dal.
know it's going to be ready really quickly. So we're back over here to prepare some chilies. So we're just going to prepare some garlic. So you've got the ginger, the turmeric,
Yeah.
the garlic, the chili. And I'm using fresh turmeric here.
You're using fresh. And do you always use fresh or can you use powdered?
You can use powder, absolutely. So into that goes your dried chili, the cinnamon, and we're going to also add some cloves. Just a few, not too much, because it can be overpowering. My next ingredient is a little bit of mustard seeds. The mustard seeds go in first because they're hardier than the cumin seeds.
Oh, and they're popping, wow.
Yeah, they're popping too, as you can see. And into there I'm going to add the cumin. In order to cool that down, stop it from burning, I'm going to put in.
Whoa.
And into that now you can add the other ingredients and you can cook them now instead of sort of like having to vagar them.
Yeah. The vagar is the method, is it, Urvesh?
Absolutely. So the vagar is probably the beginning of most Indian curries. And what that does is infuses the oil with the flavour of those spices. And that oil then spreads that flavour around the dish completely.
That's making me hungry already, that smell.
Good, good. That's the idea. And into here I'm going to add not all of my turmeric.
Okay.
And quite a lot of my ginger there. It's going to go in. We're going to quickly put our onions. So you've got to move quickly because you don't want your spices to burn. And the garlic there is on the edge now. Then we can go back to our dal now and have a quick look at that, make sure we're happy with that. And that looks perfect. You can see it's absorbed a lot of that water that was still in there. I'm going to add, this here is called dana jiru.
Dana jiru.
That's it.
That's coriander and cumin.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're going to prepare our dudi.
Dudi, the big courgette thing.
Exactly. And the reason why we put this in now and not with the dal is that it absorbs all the flavour from that vagar there. So in it goes now, and that's going to suck up all the flavour. So here we're really putting lots of the spices all over it. So that's the idea here. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of tomato.
Yeah. Tomato paste?
Tomato paste, yes. I quite like the intensity of it. But we are missing something, aren't we? Well, the dal's going in now. Let's put that in so you can see that lovely dal going in. Look how nice that looks. Yum.
I'll give you a little hand here, Ravi.
Oh! So I'm going to add a little bit of garam masala, which we haven't added yet. Just a tiny little speck of it, because we want to go slowly with that, because
it's a little bit, isn't it?
Well, it can be quite strong, you see. So let's be brave, shall we?
Be brave.
Yeah, there we go. In it goes. We haven't added any salt yet, so I'm going to go gently, though, because you can always add salt, but you can't
take it away.
No.
How many portions would you say that would be? Would you serve a family with that?
Easily. I mean, it depends on how hungry you are.
Well, I was that's mine. So where's yours?
A little bit of fresh coriander.
Is that your moong dal done?
Absolutely. You want to try?
Yes, please.
Let's do it. I'm going in too.
Very creamy. Would it pass the mum test?
Oh, for sure.
We have to taste to see if you approve.
Yes, okay.
It's the mum test.
Mum test.
Yeah, it's the mum test. Want to dig in? Lily?
What do you think?
That is some good dal. It's really nice.
Really nice. And the crispness of the vegetable, the doodhi. I've learnt it, the doodhi, yay! And the spices are not crying, they're not shouting at me.
We should all sing together harmoniously.
They're singing, that's an opera on a plate. That is singing.
I grew up around great Indian cooking, but there always seems to be something new to learn. Whether it's holding on to traditional methods or bursting forward into the next era with high-end delights, Indian cuisine is ready to be explored beyond rice and curry. That's why I'm passionate about the easy dishes of mine I hope you try. At the end of the day, there's nothing like spicing up life with some mouth-watering home-cooked Indian food for family and friends.